I wasn't able to kind of make decisions and stand by them. I had a really deep sense of sort of imposter syndrome. My confidence sort of plummeted. I was kind of questioning myself, things that I was doing.
Because the moment I was like, no, I'm not going on payroll, I need to invoice. They were like, oh, and let's add, I had my child at 16. So I was more like, no, I can't do that. They're like, child, why is everything wrong with you? You're holding a baby and holding an invoice.
And I spent the money on the offices, and we were getting it all kitted out, and we had a launch and everything, and literally within 4 weeks the turnover plummeted. And I kept thinking next month it'll be better, and started ploughing in money to keep the business going, to keep the staff on.
I didn't really have that much money. I had my savings, but I don't come from a family of privilege. I come from a working class family. So I had all of these kind of barriers that at the time I didn't realise were barriers. I just got on with it and just moved. I moved without thinking. I had an idea.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I'm joined by phenomenal women who run their own businesses. If you're new here, please make sure that you click that subscribe or follow button so that you get a notification whenever I release a new interview. And if you're not already following on social media, I am Daniela Genus on LinkedIn, Daniela Genus, She's the Boss on Facebook, and She's the Boss INTL on Instagram. Today, I am joined by Sophia Loren, who is the founder of Just Nevaeh. Sophia, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me in your show. So I'm really excited to be here.
Fabulous. I'm excited to hear about your journey because we know each other, but yes. I don't really know your story or how you came to launch the business. So tell us more about what is Just Nevaeh? How did you come to be running it?
Okay, so Just Nevaeh is a photography and videography business, and we kind of started. I'll just go back a bit. Kind of started, and I've got some little things to show. I started as is this the right one? So that was I don't know if anybody can see that. So we started off as a little bit of Nevaeh. That was my first T-shirt to say, yeah, I've got a business, and starting out doing photography, and I did that out of university because I went to university. I'm an older what would you say, student in university. I went to university.
Student. You were mature.
I was mature when I went to do media. So I've got 2 degrees. One's in teaching and one's media. And I went back in when I was 30 because I just thought I wanted to do something else. I wanted to come out of the job that I was doing because that whole life was before then was just not working for me. I went to do media, and when I came out from a really good job, and I thought, yes, I'll go and do something more and get some more money, because the mindset was I can get paid more if you get a bigger degree in something. So I went to do this course, 3 years, and I had 2 children at the time, and it was just difficult. It was a difficult process to go through. Doing university and looking after my children and working. And the idea was to go into a job, wasn't to set up my business. And when I came out of university, the world had changed in 3 years. Like, pay cuts were happening all over the place. I couldn't go back into the job that I'd originally done because the pay was too low for me, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. All the jobs that I wanted to do in media were either in Manchester or I don't
London.
The business, the establishments that you wanted to, there's only one position, so you're vying for this role with so many people, and I kind of gave up on myself, which is bad, but I didn't think I'm going to get through. So I kind of just said, I'm going to pick up my camera and I'm going to go and take some pictures, and that's how Just Nevaeh, a little bit of Nevaeh started. And my partner at the time came and worked with me on some jobs, and he kind of developed a really good skill as well. And we kind of just nurtured the business as we went along. And Just Nevaeh has come out of the business in the last 2 years because we kind of found our footing. So the business has been going for 7 years, but Just Nevaeh you know, being aware of your own brand, being aware of what you actually do, came out of understanding that you've got to do more than just pick up a camera and think you're a photographer. You've got to work on brand. So Just Nevaeh is actually more of a brand to what we actually started. And we started recognizing that social media, showing up, was really important to getting the desired clients rather than just getting clients. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded, but that's how Just Nevaeh came about.
No, I love that. And I love that you were able to reflect and say, actually, maybe this brand is not the most suitable to acquire the clients that we want. And you made that change, because sometimes I'm on social media and I see certain people's brands and I'm just like, who are you targeting with this? Like, why have you not sat down and worked out that this is not the direction to be going in? So I think reflection on your brand and your brand messaging is really important. So thanks for dropping that. So what job were you doing before? And I'm assuming you always had these kind of creative aspirations, then, let's say, or this creative side. How was you managing that creative side whilst working in I'm going to guess, a non-creative job?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back a long time. So I've always been creative. I used to be a singer, and I went to Germany to pursue a singing career. And early on when I was in Germany, I realised I actually don't like the industry. I like singing, but I don't want to be a singer. I don't like being on stage. I don't like being judged. I don't like people looking at me, but I like to be in the mix of things. It's just a weird development of who I was. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I've always been in media, and I had my daughter quite young, at 18. So I came back to England, and I just kind of fell into a job at Lloyd's Bank, and started looking after my daughter. But that passion for entertainment, media was always there, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Photography wasn't my thing, media was, but I didn't know how to channel that part of me because I didn't know what it was. So I just kept going into different jobs because my skill was people. I really had a good way with people, so I could always get a job. And funnily enough, people used to say, how do you just walk out of a job and get into a new job? How do you? And I'm really like, I don't know, is that not what you do? And I've just always been able to I don't want to work here, I'm going to do something else. But that's not necessarily always a good thing. But I worked for Bayliss and Harding when they started out. And I remember working there, and they were just about to launch their products into all the major stores, and I was working there, and I was given the opportunity to head up the shop part of it, and I was like, I'm going to go and do my own thing. I don't want to do this now. And I kind of left, and when I look back and go, wow, I was in a position to head up something that's gone global and it's really big. However, my passion and desire for myself, without knowing what it was greater. So I fleeted from job to job to job. I went into, and I never gave 100% in no job because it wasn't 100% me. And I think even if you want to work somewhere, you have to be 100% in what you want to do. You have to find that passion in whatever it is, and I didn't have it. So I went from job to job. But media just kept calling me, and then I met certain people in my life, which I'm grateful for, but I learned lots of lessons about business and what was important to me. My integrity was really important. If I said I was going to do something, I wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to give a lot, but I constantly was trying to be something that I wasn't. So when I said I was going to do something, I was trying to give too much, and sometimes you can't give too much because you can't manage it. So I had to learn so much about myself, about what am I capable of, and what can I literally give the best of me. And people was always coming up. That was always something I wanted to do. So that's why I went and did my media and communications course, because it kind of fed in with what I love media. And I love communicating. So it just made sense to do that kind of course. But I went in there and I specialise in television, but photography was just, it was my passion. I just thought, yeah, I get a chance to work. I'm nosy as well. People, my partner said I'm nosy. So this is like my main excuse to kind of be in people's business. So I love, literally, like, I get to do two things that I like, being nosy and photography, and then videography really plays out. So I've got many talents of graphic design, web design. So yeah, I've always wanted to be in media, but I didn't know whether or not that was going to be a business. So it was when I couldn't get a job in media, the business came out of it. So that's how that came about. And having kids on the side as well, it was just a weird, I wanted to be me. I wanted to do something for myself, but you've got children, you've got responsibilities, so you have to go to work. Yeah. And that's where you've got to make that choice that your family are important. So I did the hustle. I worked on the side and I did the business, building it up as well. So
how did you manage that? And because obviously I have business, I also have my contract, I also have my daughter, so I'm kind of a master juggler now. I can perform in any circus. How did you manage? How did you manage, like, demarcating the time and making sure that you were spending time with the kids, making sure you was delivering with your clients? Like, any tips around that?
My kids are my life, honestly. So even now, being in business was definitely because what I wanted for my children was really important. My kids have many goals for themselves as well, so they're entrepreneurs themselves and got goals that as growing them up, I kind of instilled in them that you have to go for your passion, you have to go for what you want, which led me to realize that if I'm encouraging my children to be these people, I need to be in a position to support them. I can't put them out here saying, you got to do this, and then they can't manage because the real world is difficult. So I kind of said, I have to do something to make sure that I'm going to be able to support their passion and dreams as well, because you need that. I've always had people around me who supported my dreams and passions, and I never, ever take that for granted. So juggling my children and work and the business was not easy, and I'm not going to lie, I got it wrong so many times, and I let myself down, let people down, let clients down doing the juggling. And realizing when you say, I'm not good at this, I'm not good here, that you start to realize how to juggle, because you train the areas that you're not good at to be better, and the things that you are good at to be excellent. So I know where I'm excellent and I know where I'm good, and I put in place things for it all to look excellent. And it's also the making sure what you say you're going to do, you actually do, and what you can't do, you admit you can't do it. That's how you juggle. Literally just being honest to yourself first and then to anybody else, because then you can't go wrong. That's how I just feel juggling works for me, literally. But I got it wrong so many times coming up the ranks, especially with clients. I look back and I go, oh, gosh. and sometimes I've always said to myself, if only I could go back and do it for them now, they'd have so much more from me. But it's learning, isn't it? So I can't dwell on it, but I just know that I look now, my work level is like, it's high. I totally have to make sure that I'm honest with what I can put out, rather than just going, yeah, I can do that, I can do this. No, we need to talk about that, if I can or I can't.
Yeah. Well, I have two questions, and both centered around the same thing. So you're very much about not ever over-promising and letting people down. That clearly is a thread that is quite important to you. Can you give an example of whether that be in business or in your life, of where that somebody has done that and let you down, that's really impacted you? Because it seems as though it's something that is a bugbear. So that's one thing. You don't obviously have to name the name, but I think it's important to understand, where did this thing come from that annoys you? That's the first question. And then the second question is, and obviously if you don't want to share, then say. And we're talking about in the past, so now we know that you're doing everything at the top level. Can you give an example of where you did drop a ball and what you wished you had done instead of what you did do? So that's 2 questions.
So the first one, I had a wedding, and this was my first wedding that I was going to do, and I overpromised the day what they were going to get based on the money she had. So she couldn't afford my price. So I wanted to give her what she could have for the whole pack. I wanted to give her everything, even for the cost. And I had to then pay out for the wedding. Because at that time, I had my one camera and I had limited equipment. So I hired everything in to do the job. And I'm not going to lie, the hiring of all the equipment and the day that we discussed didn't go to plan. So the day not going to plan with the cost of what I had, I even hired somebody for the day who had to leave at a particular time, and they didn't start the wedding 2 hours. So the person I'd hired was there and had to leave before the wedding even went underway. So I paid a lot of money for someone to be somewhere, didn't really get what I needed from him. And what happened was I was feeling some type of way. And when you're not in it, you're not giving your best. So I was annoyed, and the day was annoying for me. I wasn't giving. I mean, I got the day done, but I was annoyed, and I didn't want to do it. And people forget when you're a photographer or a videographer or doing any creativity, the day is not the end. Like, you do that, and you've got to go home, and then I'm now going to spend another, even sometimes it's 3 months or another month creating the actual product. So you're on this job for way longer than the day that the person thinks it is, and you're annoyed because you gave way too much. You didn't cost it properly. I just wanted to be this nice person, and you just can't do that. You can be a nice person, that's not what I'm saying. It's just you've got to be sensible in what you're willing to give, and it's got to be cost effective to your business, because my bank is not going to be okay with me saying you can't pay your mortgage. So I've got to be sensible about what it is that I can give for value. And value is important for me. I do want people to give me their money, thank you, but I want to give a really good service at the same time. I'm definitely about value. The second, if that answered the first one.
Yeah, that answers the question. Thanks.
The first, somebody for me was no names and no, because I do respect the growth that it's taught me, but it's getting into partnership with someone and working really hard on something, and you both have a goal for something, but then their pattern changes because their values aren't yours, and what you're doing for that business isn't the same as theirs, and people judge you based on what you're connected to. So I was in meetings and creating deals and doing things that I really believed was for the end user. And that's important to me, because the end user is my calling card. Whatever they get, they're going to go and brag about what we've done. And I've never forgot, that's how I literally live my business life. The end user is my business card. They're going out there to shout about me. However, some people, it's about the gratification of somebody saying, look what they did and how big they've gone, and you know what their status is in the world, and we weren't on the same page. So they literally, my calling, my character was put into disrepair. I repaired it now, but it was literally so draining on my personal and business life for years after I separated from them. People would always go, oh, didn't you work with so-and-so? And I'll be like, are you serious? Like,
Like, can we get over this now, please? Thank you.
That's not, like, I'm a totally, but I know I lost a lot of work based on the connection that I had in this business, that I literally had to just draw back. And sometimes I wanted to just give up, because every time I had a conversation, this name would come up and I'd be like, oh, wow, okay. And I even went to London to just get away from that Birmingham stereotype of me. So I just went away and realised I can't hide. My work is good enough. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just show up and be the businesswoman, the personal person, the Sophia Loren Jackson, who, you know, is good at what she does. And that's my promise to myself, you know. So that was definitely something I wish you can't change some of the things. You have to just look back and say, how can I avoid, you know, that kind of thing, and just always being honest with the person you're actually working with as well. So I'll just say that I've also met people in now who want to work with me, and I'm so honest. Like, they'll probably be like, wow, really? And I'm like, you got to know me today. Like, this is me, and this is what I'm expecting. My expectations are mine. What are yours? I need to know, because I don't want to get into a situation where, you know, I didn't tell you this is who I am, and then we're down the line and we're loggerheads. So I need people to be really transparent, because I'm very transparent with them.
No, I like to kind of explore those things, because, for example, for me, something that really stresses me out is lateness. And my husband just, like, he doesn't get it at all. Like, he absolutely doesn't get it. And when I kind of look back, I can pinpoint exactly where that came from. It's because growing up, my parents were always late. And I remember always being the last one at school.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm always the one. And I remember how that made me feel.
Yeah.
And therefore, because of that, I hate to be late for other people, because I'm like, I don't want to, obviously I was a child, but I still don't want anybody else to be in a situation where they're left feeling like how I used to feel, standing around and waiting.
No, it's really funny. I know that because you asked me to do something. You asked me for a job, and I came on the day, and you your email was like, are you going to be on time?
Oh. Yeah, like, and the thing is, people think it's crazy, but if I'm going to be late for something, I can freak out. Like, you will get about 10 messages from me. I'm so sorry. I'm 7 minutes away. I'm 6 minutes and 26 seconds away, because it really, like, I don't like it at all.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense, because I saw the email and I went, yeah. Oh, yeah. and then it made me, like, driving in my car. And so I can see that.
Well, and this is the thing, but I think sometimes people just look at something on a surface, and you would, because there's no reason for you to think any deeper. But obviously, you saying, and you repeatedly saying about this idea of not doing what you say, that clearly comes from something. So I really wanted to get to the bottom of where did it come from.
That makes, totally. Because by you asking me that has actually made me think, oh yeah, that's probably why. Because you asking me has made me realise it's from something, and I know it's from the integrity of what people assume of you. And I didn't like that whole incident that led me to work even harder in my business to repair an attitude that people had because of who I was in business with before. So,
and I think that's a really important lesson for people watching and listening. Be careful who you associate yourself with, because if you end up entangled, I had to get that in there. With the wrong person, that can carry with you, and you don't want to have negative associations. And sometimes, depending on what industry you have, it's not that bad, but there's certain industries, or if you're in a small community, that can last for a long time. So if people are asking you to do work together, do due diligence, make sure that you know who they are, what is their reputation. Because I also have done work with people that and this is like in the past when I was younger, but once I stopped working with them, even somebody I worked with last year, and they did something very shady. And when I kind of reached out to some of the communities that I'm involved with and said, look, this has happened, what do you think I should do? I started getting inundated with people saying, oh my gosh, she did that to me, or I know she did that to my friend, or she did that to my cousin, and this person is shady. And I'm like, well, I wish somebody told me that before I went and spent my money. Like, well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we do due diligence when we associate ourselves with certain people. But thank you for sharing that. So in terms of kind of the challenges that you've had over the last kind of couple of years, particularly now with COVID, the lockdown happened for it was a good couple of months. How have you been able to kind of, and I don't want to use this word, but everyone's using it, I'm just going to say it, pivot? Because obviously what you're doing is physical. You have to be out, and events, weddings, all of those things have been stopped. How have you managed?
That word pivot, I don't want to hear it.
I know, neither do I, but
no, I know you have to use it, but I don't, because you can't pivot. Well, you can pivot, and I feel pivot words for me are what you interpret them as. So pivot for me is something that people do in their business all the time. I've pivoted 1, I think this is the right one. No, 2, 3 times. Not the business, but the brand. What does that look like? My business cards, I kind of thought, and now I've got my, you kind of have to really look at how your business is moving. Is it working in line with you? And I've pivoted on the brand. I've also been doing this for a long time, but social media has only been my thing for the past year and a half now, because we've not really had a year, but for a year I've realized that, oh my gosh, social media is a thing. So I'm new to the whole Instagram and Facebook, but I've realized that it's important for my business, and I need to start showing up on there much better than I've been before. And I can see the benefits of that. And I can also see the benefits of having clear guidelines for my business, clear guidelines for the type of customers that I want. Not just anybody can call me and we do business. I still have that. It doesn't align with me. But how do I tell somebody no? I've got to make sure that they just don't come. I'm not that you don't want business, but I want the right clients. So having your brand will draw the type of clients you want, because then just not anybody's going to call you and say, oh, can you come and take pictures? Because they will look at me and say, oh, she doesn't do the style of pictures I want. She does this. When COVID hit, I was literally moving into my new brand element of going quite a much more luxury and high profile images and photography, videography, branding, images for people. That's my whole goal, was doing that. And COVID came, and I literally had the first email to say, oh, Sophia, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm just going to get back to you about if we can go ahead. And then I had another email, and then I had another one, and I had another one, and I had another one, and it was all cancelled. And my heart, at first, I was just like, yeah, I get it, I understand. But then you also start to see your bank balance, and you're like, whoa, this is serious. And I went into a bit of a shutdown, like, what am I going to do? And I also feel like I went into a bit of a clawing back, trying to create products online, trying to do things, showing up, and that then put me into another bit of a meltdown, because I was showing up in a desperate manner. And I'm going to be honest, that for me was very desperate. Like, I'm trying to pivot and doing other things to draw in money, and I said no. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I don't want it. Stop. And I did. And I just kind of said, what does Just Nevaeh do? And how will I show up now? And I kind of feel better for it. I feel better for stopping and really recognizing that I'm not going to harm my brand by being impulsive and just running out there trying to pivot new products. I'm going to develop the ones that I already have, make them extremely make them better for the client and make sure that the retention of work that I have is retained. So when people use me, they're coming back. They can see that they need these services. We're launching a brand new service, so called Brand New, which is literally where we do brand production days for people to have full day photo shoots, videos, have their welcome messages, content for all their social media. So we're launching all of that. So I'm not pivoting what I do, but I'm pivoting and making sure the business has more to offer and retains more work. Mm-hmm. So COVID made me look at that as well. And I had a break as well. I think that was nice. Mm-hmm. I know it's difficult. It's been a difficult time. We've lost people. So, your heart hurts sometimes, and you've got to try to, you can't, when your heart's hurting and you're going through personal issues, your business doesn't care. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's still there, still running. Your clients don't know that. You can't call your client and say, oh gosh, you can't do that. So you've got to have a stronger mindset, stronger, you can inform somebody that I'm going to take a couple of days here and there to just sort this out, but your business is definitely not going to sit down and wait for you to be ready.
Well, yeah, I think that kind of leads to a nice segue into the final two questions. Because really you spoke about what you've just learned through this COVID time, but then what are the lessons that you've learned throughout the whole business journey? And from those lessons, then what are the 3 pieces of advice that you'd give to a woman who's sitting at home who maybe wants to start a business, has already started a business, and could just benefit from some advice from you? What advice would you give?
My advice would be, if you're going to if you're starting a business, start to look at your support system first. Look at who's in your life, who's going to champion you, who's going to call you on your craft, who's going to make sure you get up and you keep going. Because there's times when I wanted to give up, and if I didn't have my daughter, my partner, honestly, I'd just be like, I'm done here. I'm going to go and get a job. I'd rather just go and get a job and come home and watch TV. But they knew that isn't me. They knew that would not resonate with me. I'd end up crying somewhere in a corner, wanting to do it again. So just really be mindful of who you've got in your corner. That's going to make sure that you are going to get through the days when you don't want to do it anymore and you don't want to keep going. That is my number one. I'd also look at the business model. Like, please look at the business model. Don't worry if somebody out there is already doing it, but look at what you're going to be doing. Look at the extra value that you're going to give, and then look at the. I know you're amazing at this, and I'm going to talk to you afterward. But what is your brand? Like, what is it that you actually offer? Not if you make cakes, you make cakes. So what? I can go to Asda and I can make cakes. What is the brand service that you actually offer? Mm-hmm. Don't start it until you know that you know what that product does for somebody else. Mm-hmm. My third thing that I think is so important is, who do you want to be at the end of this journey? Like, not even the end of the journey, because the journey just takes you constantly going down. It's a long journey. It's what life do you want to live? So if you're somebody who wants to drive a Ferrari, you want to have Louis Vuitton bags, and you want to have, and you're making cakes, are you selling them for £2.50? Does that make sense?
I had that conversation yesterday.
Does it make sense? Because pricing is key. Like, literally, you can sit here and say, I want to own my own business. That's great. And my talent, and for me, my talent is photography. That's great. I want to have this live, but I'm charging £50 for, you can't. So what is it that's going to allow me as a photographer to charge in excess that somebody will pay for? I've got peers who are charging way more than me, but I know I'm not in that league yet. I will be, and I will grow my business to be in certain leagues. But right now, I know photographers who charge like £3,000 just for a photo shoot, and that's literally, you know, allows them the lifestyle they want. So I implore anybody to look at what they do as a talent and ask themselves, will it fit with the life that I want? Because you're not going to make it by selling yourself short. You need to know your pricing, and you need to know the value you're giving in that price is there. You have to, and don't worry about will people buy at that price, because they will. There's people out there who will pay for quality stuff because they believe in their product. They believe in themselves that much. Like, you know, the reason why we go and buy expensive stuff is because we believe in the brand, we believe in the product. You know, if we didn't, we wouldn't buy them. So look at who you are, look at where you want to be, and then start thinking about that pricing. Does it match? Do you match your life where you want to actually be? Are you actually giving a good service for that? So those are my 3 things that I always think about.
I love that. That's excellent advice. Thank you so much. It's funny because in terms of the cake baker example, my cake baker, shout out to Paragon Cakery, amazing. One of the reasons that I use her is because she brings the cake to me. And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have the time to go driving around. If I'm having, because I normally have a birthday party for my daughter or for myself or someone. Yeah. I don't have time when I'm planning to be going driving around picking up cakes. She brings the cake to my door and hands it over, and it's wonderful. And the cakes are amazing. Like, you can't test the cake.
Yeah.
But it's also the service. It's the fact that I don't have to stress. Even the other day, I forgot that I ordered a cake from her, and I wasn't even in the house. And she delivered the cake, and my husband took the cake in, and then she messaged me saying, I've dropped it with your husband. And I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine had you not been in the house. That is what you call value. I don't think enough people pay attention to how they're adding value above and beyond the just general product or service.
Definitely.
And also, I love that you said about what is the life that you want to live. So when I do my Vision 20 sessions with my clients, that's essentially what that is about. It's about creating a visual understanding and picture of the life that you want to live, and then working out how do we get you there. So if anybody wants to book that, get in touch. I'll leave my information in a moment. But final question. She's the Boss recommends. What book do you recommend for my audience that has had an impact on you? It doesn't have to be business. It can also be personal development. But what book has had an impact that you recommend, and why? I've
got 2. I've got 3, but the one is sorry. I've got Believe Bigger by Marsha Evans Daniel. Marshawn Evans Daniels. Believe Bigger.
She's the one that's having twins at the moment.
Oh my gosh, is she? Okay.
Yeah.
She's written this book, Believe Bigger, before she was pregnant, because she talked about that in the book.
In fact, I think it's triplets. She's having triplets.
Wow, I'm going to go and look this up, because in the book she talks about not having children and then wanting them, but the journey that she has in this book was one that I really could resonate with, because she got lost in her relationship, and I've done that. I got lost in my relationship before I started my business, and I was becoming my relationship. And you know, when it's not going well and you decide to break up, and you stop and you go, who am I? And you just don't even know who you are. And that was one of the books that I read, realizing that find you, really, like, find who you are, and work that out. And once you do, you know, all your relationships, and I mean all, like, it's my life really revolves around my relationships, whether that's with my partner, my daughter, my son, my stepchildren, my mom, cousins, people, and clients. Those are all relationships that I really value. And knowing myself allows me to have better relationships with people, and I love it. I love good relationships. I love people. like I said, I'm nosy, but I love people. So really recognising how I work around people and work with them was really important. That was one of the books that made me realise, you got to know yourself. And I was listening to you, and you talked about Shonda Rhimes, and I really liked her book. I loved her stuff. I loved how honest she was about this. When we look at people from the outside, we hold them to quite high esteem, and we believe in their brand or their persona so much. So when we get to hear about the difficulties and how they are not coping, or how they coped, or how they moved on, you actually can breathe a sigh of relief and go, oh my gosh, yes, and you feel like, okay, and you go, that's my real life right there. I am good at this, and I'm showing everybody I'm amazing, but behind closed doors, I've cried, I've gone, I hated that job, I hated doing this, and I loved that part of it, but I didn't do that. And so for me, the learning about people when they share their real stories, Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes, was a really, really good book to read. It just made you realise that success has to be yours, really, your success, and learning to go, getting it wrong is a part of getting it right. It was a really good book for me. Really loved it.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoyed speaking to you. And if people want to find out more about your business, they want to hire you, where can they find you?
So you can find me on all socials. Our company is Just Nevaeh, and that's heaven spelt backwards, because we like to give you a little bit of heaven. So Just Nevaeh, Just Nevaeh on Instagram, on Facebook, and then I've got my personal one, which is Sophia Loren Jackson, and that's personal, where you can get to kind of have some personal. I'm going to do a little plug if you don't mind. So I'm also kind of launching, I've launched it, but I'm rebranding the Tea Stories, where people like yourself have inspired me no end, and I just want to get to find out about it. So like I said, I'm nosy, so I want to know about everybody out there and what they're doing, because you answered something for me so eloquently about who inspires you, and it is generally the people that you see, and you inspire me. All the other ladies that I see inspire me, and I'm just want to kind of get to know more people. So yeah, hit me up on Just Nevaeh for your photography, videography needs, even websites, branding, content, and then personally, Sophia Loren Jackson.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time out. Really enjoyed it. And thank you guys for watching, for listening. As usual, hit that like button, hit that share button. If there's anything that Sophia has said that's really resonated with you, leave a comment. Make sure that you're subscribed, make sure that you're following, and make sure that you tune in next week, Sunday at 8 p.m. And if you want to be interviewed, or if you want to find out about my business support services, drop me an email to Daniela@she'sthebossintl.com. And I will catch you next week. Thank you for watching.